Hello and welcome back to another video. My name is Kaylee. I talk about what intentional living looks like for me, and so if you want to add some intentionality into your life, keep watching. Today we're going to look at a reflection from January's budget, as well as general themes that we were feeling and thinking about January, and then budgeting intentions for February and kind of walking you through how I budget for a new month. When you're watching this, it's January 31st, so I am committed to not spend any money the rest of today so that the numbers that I'm giving you right now are completely and 100% accurate. I do think we have plans tonight, that's why I say that, and so I am fully committed to drinking water with a squeeze of lime, just so that this is accurate. The other reasoning for that is I'm actually really happy with where our budget is. Now, once I tell you all the numbers, you might not feel that way. You might think that I'm crazy for thinking this is a good month, but bear with me, okay? As I talked about in our no-buy wrap up of 2024, I'm not looking for perfection. What I'm looking for is progress and a steady hold at what we are envisioning our finances to look like month to month. So let's dive into January. What was I feeling throughout the month? I felt like it lasted forever. The fact that we are still in January when I'm filming this video, it is insane to me because I feel like it should be the end of February, going into March. This year, this month has felt forever long. And I do think that has made it harder to be super excited about where we're at for our finances for the month, simply because every time I went to add something into the spreadsheet, I was like, oh my gosh, we still have 3 more weeks left. Oh my gosh, we still have 2 more weeks left. Oh my gosh, we still have 1 more week left. When I was adding them and thinking, oh my gosh, our numbers look so good. We're going to be like out on top. We're going to make more than we spend this month. And then to continually see that, no, there's more time. So overall, like I said, I feel really good about the numbers this month. How was I feeling this month though? Not necessarily feeling related specifically to the budget, but just overall feelings. There were days when I have been more motivated than I have felt in the last 3 months. And then there were other days that I wanted to do absolutely nothing except to turn on the Switch and play a video game. I did that some days, and I used my motivated days to be as productive as I could be. Now, another feeling that I kept having was the desire to travel. One day I will have to share a video more on my travel experiences throughout my life because there are so many, and I so wish some of those had been documented. If I had been filming videos in 2022, you would have seen 16 to 17 travel vlogs because that's how many trips I took that year. Last year we took 4 trips. It's come down a lot, primarily because of finances, right? So this year I have the itch to travel more. I'm conflicted because I want to have those experiences, and I think I would regret more not having those experiences, knowing what that does to my mental health, and wanting to save as much money as possible, especially after a year of overspending like we had in 2024. So I've been wrestling with that a lot, and that's kind of where my headspace has been. I've also felt really proud about starting this. So I think a lot of that is going to alleviate the further we get into the year because, as you'll learn in a moment, we paid the last statement on my husband's school, his graduate degree. Also, just kind of as a disclaimer from here on out, I say my money a lot, my budget, my this, my that. It just, that equals our money, our budget, because my husband and I share 100% of our finances. We have a joint bank account. We have credit cards that the other party is like the secondary user on the card. It's much easier for me to say my budget, my money, but know that that is our money and our budget. Let's jump right into January's percentages. So I'm going to break this down 2 different ways. The first way is to show you with the graduate school payment incorporated into the percentages and without the graduate percentage incorporated. And the reason that I'm doing that for myself and for you is to kind of look at the projected percentages for upcoming months without that payment being something that is on our minds anymore. So let's do it with first. You should be seeing images of these pie charts with all of the percentages broken down. As a reminder, the categories are groceries, eating out, insurance, rent and utilities, subscriptions, gas, travel, loans, business, miscellaneous, and graduate school. 11 categories. Travel doesn't have anything in it. Everything else has an amount. So let's look at the biggest first. The biggest is definitely Arizona State. I mean, it's more than half of our expenses in January, 54.5%. It is painful. And wow, I can't believe that this will be the last time that I am seeing a big chunk like that, specifically for, a massive achievement that my husband has done over the past 2 years. Super proud of him. That is 54.5% of the pie. Then we look at rent and utilities. That is 22.6%. In this category is rent, obviously. All of our utilities, so water, sewage, electricity, as well as our internet and our phone bill, that exists in the 22.6%. Even when I show you the percentages without the grad school, this is significantly lower than it was a year ago because we decided to move this past year. So let's talk about insurance. That's 4.6%. That includes our life insurance, both of our policies, as well as our car insurance and our umbrella policy. That does not include medical insurance, as that's taken immediately out of my husband's paycheck. Eating out was 3.1% and groceries was 2.2%. Loan repayment was 3.9%. That's crazy. 3.9% spent on loans and only 3.1 on eating out and 2.2 on groceries. I mean, I knew that those dollar amounts were different, but seeing it like that is really cool. 0.2% for business expenses, 1.9% for gas, and another 0.2% for subscriptions. Now let's look at miscellaneous. So miscellaneous is that category that then at the end of last year, I went and added up to see what were unnecessary expenses. So now I've created a system to kind of look at this month by month. So instead of having red, yellow, and green light items, I'm going through that miscellaneous amount each month and marking each purchase as red, as in we didn't budget for it. This was an expense that we weren't planning on and an expense that we shouldn't have made. Yellow expenses are ones that we, again, did not budget for, but needed to happen, or they were just things that I didn't think about needing to pay for. And then green expenses are ones that we already budgeted for the month ahead. And again, when we go into February, I'll kind of break down what that looks like to plan for certain expenses in the miscellaneous category. So in the red expenses for miscellaneous, we spent $122.22. Those expenses were a parking fee, which was just $5.45, but it was something that we didn't budget for. And the remainder of that was at Sam's Club. And actually, now that I'm looking at the breakdown, which is why I love a description, I'm actually okay with part of the purchase. So it's actually a red/yellow expense. However, that included some new batteries that we didn't need, but we're nice to have. And then I actually got some more of my supplements. I take a turmeric and an apple cider vinegar supplement, and they're cheapest at Sam's. And so that was the other amount. So like I said, I'm actually okay with probably $60 out of the red light amount, but the rest of it should be red. Then we look at yellow. We spent $197.37. If you have a dog or a cat or an animal of any kind. You know those vet appointments where you think, oh, I'm just going to take them in for a nail trim and it'll be totally fine. It'll be the standard normal amount of $22 and then it's $154. Right, so that's what happened. $154 of that was a vet bill. My dog got a nail trim and also got an eye exam, essentially, which we were not prepped to pay for. And the other two purchases in the yellow light category were SodaStream flavors and SodaStream carbonation canisters. And then in the green light category, we have $222.98. So those were all purchases that we had budgeted for. Now I will say one of the things that I noticed is I budgeted more than that amount. So I'm wondering if maybe I did think about like the SodaStream refills when I made the budget. So that's interesting. However, we still went over that budget almost entirely in part because of the vet bill being significantly more than we anticipated. Welcome to pet parenthood. So now let's pull up the percentages without the grad payment, and I have another number that I'm going to share with you that was really encouraging as far as projected for the upcoming months. So looking at it without grad school, rent and utilities are 49.6% of our budget. Insurance jumps to 10.2%. Eating out was 6.8%. Groceries was 4.8%. Miscellaneous was 14.9%. Business was 0.5%. Loans was 8.6%. Gas 4.1%. And subscriptions 0.5%. Now, the really cool number that comes into play with all of this is how much would we have saved if we didn't have that big loan amount, and if we took out the grad school payment, would we have overspent in our budget? So we budgeted for grad school. However, we knew that our income this month would probably not match the amount that we were needing to spend because of grad school and our normal expenses. But if we take grad school out of the equation and we just look at the numbers for everything else the rest of the month, we only overspent that budget amount by $1.89. I don't think that has ever happened. Ever for us. Ever. And if we didn't have to pay for grad school and we still spent the same exact amount of money on our other expenses that we ended up spending, we would have saved $2,470. That gives me a whole lot of hope for the upcoming months throughout this year, and that reinstills all of the hope that I have for travel and experiences throughout the year, to know that, we will have money coming into savings, and some of that can be allocated as savings towards future experiences and travel this year in 2025. So feeling really good about January overall. Obviously, we still do have that grad school payment in there. So while it's really encouraging about the future months, we are in the negative officially this month, and we'll look at what that looks like in February. I am going to be honest, it has been a nightmare trying to film here at the office because there's rain happening outside and the cars keep coming by, and I'm really close to the road, and I did not think about all of the additional sound. So I'm going to pack up all of my stuff and I'm going to head back to my house, and I will meet you there, and that is where we will go over budgeting for February. See you in a minute. Welcome back. We're home, we're settled, potentially a little bit more frazzled looking just because we had to walk out in the rain. If you see this blanket or my lap move, it's not me, it's my dog. Now that we've wrapped up January's budget, we are looking ahead to February. February is going to be a busy month, but it's going to be a good month. The one and only hope that I have for February is that we stay in budget. If we stay within our budget, I don't care what else happens. Hello, day later, Kaylee here. Turns out I do care what happens, because I finished prepping our taxes and it looks like we are going to owe a very large chunk. I went from extremely hopeful to extreme dread very quickly, but we will talk about that in a future video. Just wanted to let you know, it's not always sunshine and rainbows when you feel like it is. One day later, you can get slapped in the face. We could spend $1,000 on eating out, but as long as we got that money from somewhere else in the budget, I don't care. The only main goal is to stay within the budget, potentially save money if it's possible, which again, like looking at the end of January's amount, I think that's possible. Now, I have a couple of notes. I do this so automatically. I had to really think about what it is, and I waited until today to budget for February so that I could write notes while I was doing it, so that I could accurately share how I budget for a new month. First, I look at upcoming needs and expenses. Things like deodorant, toothpaste, toilet paper, laundry detergent, all of those things that you buy seldomly. And it's so interesting because we no longer have backups of products, either for personal care or for home care. And it has been wild to see how long a product actually lasts when you don't have a backup that you just immediately replace it with. So you're able to really see when you're purchasing those items and how frequently throughout the year. And because of how I use my spreadsheet, which if I can, I will link it below in the notes of this video. To be honest, I am still learning how all of the back end of YouTube works. So if I can figure out how to link that template there, I will. If not, I will figure it out before the next budgeting video. On my spreadsheet, I'll throw up a picture here. I put the description of all of the purchases. So if it's Target, I put in what those items are. And then I can go back and look, oh, we only bought laundry detergent twice last year. And I think that that is true. I think in 2024, we only bought laundry detergent twice. And we don't get the huge one. We don't get a massive one from like a big wholesale store like Costco or Sam's. We just get the regular size of laundry detergent, but we only had to purchase it twice last year. I look at upcoming needs. What do we need to buy? So I have a list actually of all of the things that we need to purchase. We need to purchase flea and tick medicine for the dog. And that is expensive. The $154 vet bill in February was like, ugh, but this I'm budgeting for at $136? Insanity. We need deodorant. We use natural deodorant. We use the brand called Saltaire, and that's going to be $43. I'm going to get 5 refills so that it'll last us a while. So 5 refills, $43. And then I have a Target pickup order. The Target pickup order is actually full of things that I've been accumulating to a list throughout the month of January. That's around $68 for bleach, toilet paper, a bug spray, Scrub Daddy scrubs, but they're actually made out of coconut fibers, laundry detergent, dishwasher detergent, and bags to take on walks with our dog. I really like to keep those items separate from our groceries because I want to know exactly what we're spending on food items only. That's just a personal preference. That's not something that you have to do or something, that's totally changed the game for us budgeting wise. You can put that amount anywhere. I just like to keep those things separate. So that's why I do a Target order for that, or we'll do a special shop to like Kroger or Publix to get those items and put them on a separate receipt from any food items. And then my husband is almost out of coffee. And so we get beans from a local roaster here in Georgia. It's called Alma Coffee. If you're in the area, it's fantastic, but it is more expensive and it's been worth it. My husband has said before that that is something that he's willing to not get, that he'd be willing to get like a store brand or a mainstream brand coffee bean to help with budgeting. However, I know how much joy coffee brings him. And so if we can budget for it, then we budget for it. And again, because of how much it is, I like to keep it separate from our normal grocery amount. So the coffee beans will be around $38, and that's going to be for a 2-pound bag, in case you're wondering. So all of those things together, plus another thing that is not a purchase, but it is an expense, at $120 for physical therapy for me. That will get me 2 30-minute sessions throughout the month. So all of that together, plus physical therapy, is about $405. So in my budget spreadsheet, I have added $475 for miscellaneous and personal, because like last month with the SodaStream refills and things like that, I could have budgeted for them had I looked in the pantry and realized that we needed them. This just gives a $70 buffer for unexpected things that might come up. And hopefully that's enough of a buffer, and maybe it's not enough of a buffer, but we'll find that out at the end of the month. The other thing that I look at is other categories that might have higher amounts than previous months or than upcoming months. So one expense category that will be higher in February than it will be in any other month is our insurance category, because our rental insurance is due. We pay our rental insurance annually, and therefore I've increased our insurance amount from a little over $300 to $540. Buddy, hey, what are you doing? You want to lay on top? Okay. But this is what he does under the blanket. He just wants to be on top of it right now. To determine some of the other categories of spending, I look at our calendar. When I look at our calendar, I'm looking for times where we will be out of the house around a meal time, and it might be easier to pick up a meal out instead of cooking it at home. I'm looking at things that we have committed to, either with friends or with family, and then trying to figure out how much we might spend when we are out. I'm looking at events that are coming up or things that we are celebrating in that month. And finally, I am looking at times where Jonathan or I will be out of the house and only one person will need a meal. And typically with the other person is out of the house, that meal is being paid for. I might do kind of a whole video talking about why that is and what that is. But the brief summary is, I have a sister with special needs, and we do a lot of caretaking for her. And we have another person in her community, our community, that we have known for years and years and years. And we absolutely adore him. And we actually do quite a lot of caretaking for him as well. And when we are caretaking for him or for her, one of our meals is always covered based on the arrangement that we have in caretaking. So looking at February, here's what I know. 12 out of the 28 nights, Jonathan's meal will be covered, and at least 4 nights will be covered for me as well. Some of that is because of caretaking, some of that is due to other things, but that's what I'm taking into consideration primarily when I'm looking at our grocery budget, because if it's just me eating at home, I can throw something together really quickly and it can be quite simple versus cooking an entire meal for both of us that also hopefully has leftovers to carry over into lunches during the week. The other thing that we try to do with groceries is we try to go more frequently at a lesser amount per shop. So sometimes that can look like a $90 shop and a $20 shop. Other times it looks like a $50 shop for the entire week. And I try to use up what we have and build meals around that. And then therefore I'm buying less ingredients at the grocery store week to week. So let's set up our grocery budget based on these numbers. We have 4 full weeks in February. I would say about $50 per week plus a buffer would get us through based on how we budgeted in January. For February, I am putting in $275 for our grocery budget. We'll see how we get along. For eating out, there are 2 celebratory events happening in February. One of them is Jonathan's anniversary at his job. He works at an autism center here in Georgia, and he's been working there 2 years next week. And then 2 weeks after that is our 5th wedding anniversary. Hey. It's also your birthday this month. I forgot about that. It's also Brecker's birthday this month in February the 4th. So we're celebrating for Jonathan's 2-year work anniversary. I don't know if we'll do anything, but it is a notable day. He has really found what he loves to do, and that's why it feels like a celebration. In the same way that when it comes to June and I celebrate my business birthday, it's because I left a job and I'm now in a role that I love to do. So in that way, it feels worth celebrating, but I'm not sure that we'll do anything major. What we will do something major for is our wedding anniversary, which is on February 20th. We will have been married 5 years. We'll definitely have a celebratory meal. I don't know if we'll do anything else, but I want to accommodate the budget for that. You'll notice that I didn't mention Valentine's Day because we don't celebrate Valentine's Day. And the reason for that is because we don't. I had a friend ask me recently if we weren't celebrating it due to budgeting and like trying to save money. And we're not. We just really never celebrate Valentine's Day. Even when we were dating, we didn't. And then once we got married, our anniversary was always the week after Valentine's Day. And I would much rather go all out celebrating that. So looking at 2 meals out, nicer meals, sitting down, adding a nice tip, and then putting in a buffer of oh my gosh, I don't want to cook. I just want to grab something to go or order something in, putting in a buffer for that. I have also budgeted $275 for February. Do I think that's possible? I'm looking at January's budget to make sure that that isn't too lofty of a goal. I'll tell you what our January budget was. It was $300 and we only spent $246. So I'm hoping that $275 is enough based on that and based on what we ate and where we ate. I'm going to bump it to $300 just in case. Groceries, $275, eating out, $300. The other category that I use our calendar to kind of help determine is gas. So when we're doing caretaking, we're doing a lot of driving to pick up, drop off, take to various events, pick up from various events, things like that. We're also going to a friend's house who lives about an hour away, and so we need to factor that in. So factoring all of that in, typically our gas budget sits around $150, but I think based on all of the driving that it looks like we'll be doing, I'm gonna bump that up to $180, and I think that'll cover us. And finally, for me, I own my own business, and so I have to look at business expenses. I put this into our overall budget, but I also have a separate business spreadsheet that I will also put that into. But for the purposes of our month-to-month spending, I also like to know how much of our overall income is being spent on the business. And so I look for appointments or one-to-one meetings that I have with people that might be at a coffee shop or at a restaurant. And then I try to budget in the amount that I think will help cover that, as well as normal business expenses like my Google business account, any website expenses, all of those things. I don't really have much overhead other than digital products and then meeting with people. So it's pretty easy to budget month to month, and it's typically a pretty low number. I think I could probably budget $40 for business expenses. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. This is something I really enjoy talking about and helping others learn more about because it gives you such freedom. It feels like a lot of control and it feels like a lot of strict rules, but it's not. It has actually, for me, been a huge pathway to feeling more free in my life, to budget like this and to know where my money is going rather than it just leaving my bank account. I'll see you Friday for my 2025 reading goals. Until next time.